just to explain, I'll do the intro and then I'll bring you in,
Okay,
Christy, and we can.
Yeah, he'll start with this annoying fucking voice.
I like
you
the
already
voice.
know.
I actually really like the voice.
Don't encourage him, Christy.
No, I would like to
Well, here we-
encourage him. I get
God damn it.
because any trace of like your southern charm just disappears and like it becomes pure spookiness. I'm into it.
Okay, well, here we go.
It's like listening to Dobby talk.
Hello and welcome to Center of Spookiness, the spooky podcast about very spooky stuff, but it's mostly just about TV episodes. I am Jangly Josh, like chains jangling.
Oh, gross.
And joining me is Spooky Skinner. Hi, Skinner.
Get your jangle out of my face, my friend.
Skinner, I don't want to alarm you, but we are not alone. Someone else is here. Someone else must be the killer in this episode. It can't be one of us. And that is because we are joined on this episode by Creepy Christy.
Ooh,
Hi,
I was going to suggest Ghosty Admiral, but Creepy Christy is good.
Yes, it's Christy Admiraal, a good friend of ours, has been on some of our previous podcasts, and we wanted to bring her in to the Center of Weirdness family because we are talking about spooky TV episodes this Halloween season, and there is one that she was desperate to cover. Just like Salute Your Shorts and Home Improvement, two of my favorite shows that we discussed, Boy Meets World is her favorite show, and thus she wanted to talk about the episode from season 5, episode 17, And Then There Was Shawn. Tell us why you love this episode and this show, Christy.
Oh boy, where do I begin? Let me check my notes, which is a thing I'm literally doing. Okay, specifically this episode scared the shit out of me when I was a kid, and I enjoy it a lot more now in a very different way because there are actually way more direct horror references, indirect ones, than I ever would have realized when I was like 11-year-old shaking in front of the TV, Christy. Boy Meets World, like all of TGIF, was a weekly fixture in my house when I was in elementary and middle school. And Boy Meets World still strikes me as one of the best crafted shows of that era. I still think that the writing is better, the characters are deeper. It's ultimately, in this episode, it's very explicit that this is a show about codependence with your best friend. And I just think I think that's lovely. I've maybe a little bit written Corey and Shawn fan fiction, but we don't have to talk about that.
Okay, so we've heard from someone who loved this show. Now, let's move to Skinner. Have you ever seen this show before?
I've seen like 1 or 2 episodes. I know of the show through cultural osmosis, but like it mainly under the whole thing of I know a character's name is Topanga, but like just utterly lost for the first 20 minutes of the 22 minutes episode. But by the last 2 minutes, I got it all figured out once Shawn explained it to me.
Pleased.
I still don't know the Savage Boy's name.
His name is Corey.
His name is Corey. He's in a thick head stage of his growth at this point. He's got a very wide head and neck.
Yeah, before we keep going on the actual episode, did you know that Ben Savage is running for local office in West Hollywood right now?
I did know this, and I think that a lot of people are not too happy about that because I think he has some bad policies.
I kind of wanted to pick your brain on that one.
I don't know much about him. I just know that, one, he's running for office. I think that people are not too keen on some of the policies that he wants to implement. And two, his brother, Fred Savage, who was in Wonder Years, is also kind of like a sexual predator, apparently.
As of relatively recently, we have discovered that he is indeed that.
Yeah, so there's some bad stuff going on in that Savage bloodline.
Yeah, not great, not ideal.
Yeah, it's I think even there's I watched this show quite a bit because it was on after school. They showed it on I think like on Disney Channel when it started
Yes.
to kind of transition away from a lot of the original stuff and like more kiddie things into being more like having kind of teen focused blocks of programming. And so they would show like 2 or 3 episodes back to back in the early evenings. So I watched this show a ton. I think I kind of came to it. I did watch it when it was on ABC originally, but it wasn't one that I like kept up with like I did with like Family Matters or anything like that. But I did watch it pretty regularly, and I think there's an episode later on when they're in college where Ben Savage's brother, Fred Savage, shows up as like an older student or something.
He's a professor, and I know exactly.
He's a professor. That's right. He hits on Topanga, and then like,
which is foreshadowing for what he did in real life.
Yeah.
Oh,
and
my
I
goodness.
just remember him doing something, and then there's being a commercial break, and then they cut back from the commercial break, and it's him being thrown out of like a window or something by Corey. It's so funny.
It's an escalation, an instant one.
Yeah. So yeah, this is. I mean,
So like in my defense, I'm in my 20s by the time this episode comes out.
That is true. That was what I was about to say. Is that I think that Christy and I, even though I'm a little bit older than you, Christy, I think we were still in that same the right age bracket for this.
Because I was watching with my older brothers who are a little bit older than Josh. If we're going to break down the numbers, I think it's 2-year gaps in here. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not exactly certain my exact age. I'm a little bit younger than Christy's co-host, Phil Gonzalez.
I don't actually know how old Phil is.
We don't have to say it on the air. I'm just slightly younger than him by like a few
No, I'm
months.
just saying, like, I don't know how old Phil is, so I can protect the innocent in this case.
See, I went to his birthday recently, but I think it was a milestone
invited
one.
to his birthday party?
I get invited to all his major birthday parties.
His major ones.
Well, I think we only have it only happens every few years. We sit in his backyard and I give him half gag gifts.
Phil did not invite me to his birthday party, and I realize you live in roughly the same city, and I live several hours from Phil, and we've never met in person, but I'm going to have to talk to him about this later.
I mean, we also have half the time I'm being invited because his daughter is asking him to invite me, so my daughter comes along.
That's fair. That makes me feel a little bit less bad about the exclusion.
And our wives are kind of friends too, so it also helps.
Oh, that's sweet. I love that. I love Alana.
She is fantastic.
I did look up some of Ben Savage's platforms, his political platform, and one of his big things is enhancing community safety by providing law enforcement with the resources they need to protect community members.
Ben Savage said, "Fund the police."
The Savage police officers.
Yeah, he's going to launch his own West Hollywood Savage Squad that goes out to clean up the
SS?
Not intentional, but yes. Yes. So let's talk about And Then There Was Shawn. I do remember this episode pretty fondly from being a kid because, I liked, I think I saw this episode for the first time after I had already started watching some horror stuff, like getting into the horror world, because this was around the time that I started getting into a little bit more horror stuff. Like I had seen Scream, I had seen I Know What You Did Last Summer, this having a very direct reference to both of those films.
Yeah.
And one more direct than others, but very direct. So I do remember this one pretty fondly. I was surprised to learn when we did a little bit of research that this was from February of 1998, not October. I just assumed that this was the Halloween episode for that season, but it was not.
Love. It's about love.
It's about love.
It's about love.
Good point. We have it. Yeah, it is about love. It has Jennifer Love Hewitt in it, and I think they were definitely doing something there. So we start with some backstory that we could quickly fill in, but I guess Corey and Topanga have broken up at some point. I don't remember exactly what happened to them. Christy, maybe you remember.
Oh, of course I do.
Fanfic or something.
They were getting too close, too young, and they kind of wanted a bit of separation between the two of them.
Good point, because these kids are, I guess they're all 17 or so in this episode, because they're seniors. They're about to graduate. Yeah. I knew that was probably how it was. I knew kids our age didn't act like that when we were watching this, but like as an adult, some 15 years or 20 years removed, it's wild how much they talk like adults and act like adults.
There were a few moments in
like
this
17.
episode where I was like, I like the dialogue on this show broadly. I think they sound like kids bantering, but they sound so much more like college students or 20-somethings bantering to my ears now.
Because I think they were all in their 20s, right?
Yeah.
Except for Angela, who was like almost 30.
That's right.
Angela, doing some of the best work on this show consistently, just a really undervalued character. But
she is the star of this episode.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, she is. She has some of the best reaction. I think her reaction when Jennifer Love Pfefferman, excuse me, shows up and screams, and she's like, I am the screamer here.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty good.
It was a good line.
But yeah, so they are, Corey is sitting in Sean's seat in this impossibly tiny classroom with 9 kids in
like
it total.
That, yeah.
I always loved TV classrooms that felt so impossibly small. They were either like college style, where you're in these big
enormous lecture hall,
and they're completely full, and it's like, sometimes that happened, but not all the time.
Not in a regular class.
No, not in a regular class. And then you have these tiny classrooms on these tiny like high school classrooms that are like have 9 people in them. Like, how's that possible
Normal.
In Philadelphia? But yeah, so Corey is sitting in Sean's regular seat in the back of the classroom because Sean's the bad boy. And he tells him that he and the wife have broken up. And it's just weird for 16 or 17-year-old kids, I'm assuming 17, or maybe they're 18, I don't know, to be talking about the wife.
Yeah.
Like, and I get it. I know the course of the show that they go on and they, they stay together. They break up a couple times here and there. They stay together pretty much the rest of their lives. And then they have a daughter who they have another show with, 10 years later. But yeah, it's always weird to me when I don't know. I guess I can't be too like,
a high school kid, my daughter.
Holly's in high school?
Yes, Holly's in high school, Christy.
Yeah.
I gotta go.
It's weird, right? Yeah, we're both turning to dust over here.
I knew that she was like a teenager, but I didn't realize that meant she was growing up.
Well, I mean, she's not very tall.
Don't let her listen to this one. It's just me shuffling off this mortal coil because Holly is too old. Anyway, go back to what we're talking.
No, but what I was saying is like it always strikes me as interesting when there are people who have stayed together like from high school all the way through.
Oh, it's weird.
And it feels very unusual because I know that's the trajectory of these characters, but they are also talking like they're 30 years old in a couple of scenes. So it's always off-putting the way that they write the characters. But anyway, they're broken up right now, so they're trying to create some separation. But Sean is a little put off by this. He's very aggressive towards a nearby student who just asks to borrow a pencil.
You know what you actually wanted, though, right?
Yes, he knows what that means, which also, okay.
There's a lot of sex chat in this episode, and
there
my
is.
favorite joke
there's
in the episode is a sex joke, but we'll go to it. It's weirdly more than there usually is on this show.
Yeah, it's surprising. It's surprising how much of that there is.
It just what Shawn dreams about is very interesting.
Oh, yes. Well, yeah, we'll get to that, too. Yeah, spoiler alert, it's a dream episode, or is it? But
the kids on this show are horny, but usually in a TVG way, and the TV PG on this episode is earned, I would say.
What I can't remember, because obviously they're in their only teacher's classroom, Mr. Feeney.
Yeah, no one else is on staff at the school.
The only guy who is the principal, right?
Yeah,
Isn't he
there
the
are two
principal
other
at this
teachers
point?
because Shawn is briefly the surrogate son of one of them, and the other is good.
Yes.
But Feeney
Mr. Turner,
is
who
teaching...
gets hurt in a motorcycle accident, and is never seen again.
I miss Mr. Turner.
It's a real Mr. Weatherby situation.
R.I.P. to a real one. Oh, I did like that Feeney called Shawn Jughead at one point. Yeah, it's never clear what subject Feeney teaches. It seems to be everyone.
In his dreams, he's teaching math and history literally interchangeably set in the second.
I noticed that.
Well, the reason I ask is because it sort of depends on what subjects they're talking about, because on the board it says read chapters 12, 13, 23, and 14, or 24. And it's like, is this a choose your own adventure book, or why are you jumping around so much?
It'd be really interesting if they're reading like a really dense novel and he's
he's like, skip over those middle chapters. They mean nothing.
They're about slavery, and we're not allowed to teach about that anymore.
Those are the sections of the book that teach about critical race theory. You got to skip those.
we got to get that right out at the schools.
Got to jump right over that. But there's a lot of disruption happening in the classroom. Shawn stands up and is screaming about a pencil is a dick or something. very upset. And so Feeney separates the class, separates Corey and Topanga, puts them on opposite sides of the room, and this frustrates Shawn. He's like very upset because it's separating them even further, and it just feels wrong. And Feeney's like, all right, if there's one more disruption, you guys are going to get detention. And then the door swings open and in rolls Freddie the janitor. Like, this is our third one of our third things this Halloween season that has referenced Freddy.
Well, I mean, one of them is literally Freddy's.
One of them is Freddy's Nightmares, but the other two, both Salute Your Shorts and this, reference Freddy Krueger. And also, this is a spooky dream. But yeah, the janitor comes in, looks like he's just stepped out of a 1910 photo.
He's great. This man has such a look. Like, they sent him in from Central Casting, and it's just like the spooky department.
He is both dry and yet very wet.
Yeah, his face is powder white and dry, but his hair is oily and black.
He is gaunt, but also somehow threatening. It's really just perfect looking man.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm trying to see. I don't see him on the cast list. I don't think. I'm trying to find him.
He's one of those perfect castings where like he doesn't actually look like Freddy Krueger that much, and he doesn't look like anything you've seen in a movie, and yet he's instantly makes you think of all of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't think he's on here. Like,
do you think
maybe he was a ghost, Josh?
It's very possible that he is a ghost. He is there is an actor on this episode though credited as Dinosaur.
What?
I missed that.
Yeah, it's this person named Jason Madison.
Not Jason Marsden, who's not in this episode.
No,
which is disappointing because Jason Marsden is in early seasons of this show.
Yeah, and apparently I did not know this, but apparently his character's name is Jason Marsden.
Is it?
According to Wikipedia, it is.
Oh, all right.
He's like Tony Danza.
That's the only name he would answer to on set. But yeah, he's credited as Dinosaur, and he was in 2 episodes of Boy Meets World as Dinosaur. So I don't know what that means.
I am just racking my brain. When did this happen? Did I
have no idea.
Have a stroke in the middle of the episode?
Do you think
I have
he's
no idea,
the guy in the skeleton mask?
Maybe
That's the
that would be
only
weird,
other character who has a speaking part whose name we don't know. Because
yeah, but that's Shawn, so we know.
well, I mean, we know that, but then we see him again at the end, and is it real?
He couldn't be him again.
There's also another
There's other kids-
classmate named Kenny who is the one asking for the pencil, and as soon as they said his name, it flooded back to me that they make a South Park "They Killed Kenny"
Yeah, that
joke.
was one of my notes. Like they only named this character Kenny so they can do an "oh my gosh, they killed Kenny" at one point.
Okay.
Also,
I have to
Eric
ask you
does a Mr. Hanky, the Christmas.
Yes, he
movie
does.
thing
He
at one
does.
point.
So I have to ask you guys. I love to like keep you guys flat. Ask you guys a question that makes you flat-footed every single time Christy's on the show.
Oh no.
What show would they reference instead of South Park if this episode was made today?
Rick and Morty.
Ooh,
Rick and Morty.
yeah,
She's
you-
right.
You nailed it.
1 for 1. Aaron
I was
Judge
gonna-
of references
I was going
right
to say
there.
some random TikTok.
Josh, we can both be right on this one.
You know what's weird though? So this episode, they must have been really on, like they were on the cusp of this whole South Park thing.
Oh, yeah.
Because, let's see, South Park started in late '97. So like they were
This is
just
much more timely than the Beavis and Butthead reference on Step by Step.
Oh yes, those two characters who were basically live action Beavis and Butthead.
I cringe just thinking about it, and I bring them up all the time.
But yeah, they would have been shooting this probably in like early February, maybe like late January for this to come out. And the Mr. Hanky episode had only come out in December of '97. So like they just knew this is going to be a big thing. We got to put it in our episode.
Television viewers, very predictable.
We're going to put animated shit on TV, and kids are going to love it.
So they all
Rick.
they all get detention. Well, some of them do. The other unnamed students
One who's
basically
probably
are not
named
there.
Dinosaur.
Yes. One of them is definitely a dinosaur. And so they find out that they are locked in the classroom after Feeney leaves. He basically tells them they have to stay there, and he doesn't have to stay there because he's not in detention. But the janitor shows up at the window and looks very creepy, and they ask him if he can let them out, if he has the keys. He shows them his big key ring and then wanders away, taunting them. And they find on the board, written in blood, "No one gets out alive," which I guess is just a message about high school or something.
So
nowadays it is.
So I have to bring this up. I mentioned this to Josh when I first found this out, but we got this is so Corey mentions acts like they're too old for detention, right? Which feels actually accurate. But
Yes.
earlier in this year, I got one of my first emails from my daughter's high school.
She got detention?
No, well, here's what happened. She is a golden child of nerdiness.
Oh, for sure.
But this blew my mind as far as making me feel like I've lost track with time. They had a note thing from the principal saying, "Hey, by the way, if you weren't able to serve your detention due to COVID restrictions in the last year, make sure to check your detention app on your school iPad, and make sure by X date of the year you make sure to serve your time and lower your detention numbers on the app." So there's an app that kids have that tracks how much attention they earned, and they can pay off that detention time on their own reconnaissance up to a point.
Do you guys ever think about how we live in hell?
I can't imagine that reality, especially as a high schooler, or like the fact that if I got detention last year, in the year of our Lord, the year before this current year of our Lord, and somehow I got out of it due to a global pandemic, that I came back and I had to check a fucking app and I still owe that time if I didn't graduate. What? And then I have to go on my own to like, I guess I'll go serve detention today because I don't have a Mario Kart tournament to go to after school. Like, what the shit is that?
Did either of you ever have to serve detention? And I apologize if you've covered this on the show.
I don't remember if I ever did, which probably means I didn't.
I had to serve it in I think the last time I was in middle school as a whole. Everyone in this classroom is getting detention. I'm not going to give any kids
That's
an out on this, no matter what.
That's wild to me.
Yeah, one of my teachers just like, fuck all of you. You're all staying an hour after school.
Yeah, I think I did once in 7th grade and once or twice in high school. Same class. We could either, if we were late to my bio class, we could either pay the teacher 50 cents, or if we didn't have 50 cents on us, we had to serve detention, which in retrospect feels really mean.
It also shows how badly teachers are paid. They are just stealing money from children.
Literal children.
Get a bag of Doritos for dinner for this kid.
That happened.
Oh my God.
I think maybe I did have detention.
Now you don't feel like you're just too squeaky clean and you got to make up a story.
Yeah, there's no way that I was that good of a kid, because I did when I was in grade school. I was involved in a large scale pencil stealing ring. So I did get in trouble for that pretty bad. So that was definitely not great.
I got in a fight with a kid 2 grades older than me, and unfortunately, after this kid must have been the worst fighter in the world, because I was like 4'2" in 7th grade. But I literally, he tried to attack me, and I grabbed his fist, slammed it into the locker, and then slammed his head in the locker in front of everyone, which I would never be able to reproduce in my life. And then I turned around, the principal was staring right at us, and I'm like, wow. That's I got somewhat in trouble because of I fought in front of everybody, but also as you're a foot shorter than this guy, so we're not going to punish you too hard.
You're sort of in a sitcom in that moment.
Yeah,
kind of at a moment. Yeah,
that's a sitcom fight. I do remember one thing though: the entire class got in trouble, and we didn't do detention, but it was like some kids making a whole thing, and she said, if you don't stop, I'm going to punish everybody, I guess as an attempt to get them to stop it, like to say, I don't want to hurt everybody's feelings. Of course they didn't give a shit. So they kept going. And then she made everybody write something, some sentence over and over, like 50 times or 100 times on a piece of paper, and bring it back. Like, I will behave in class.
I've had that punishment. Like that. It's horrible.
And so I did it because this was well after my pencil ring thing had scared me straight, and I was a good kid again. And so I wrote it all out, and I did it, and I brought it back the next day, and I was like, hey, I did this. Like, I'd gotten to school a little early, and I was putting stuff in my locker, and she was coming to the classroom, and I said, hey, I did this. I don't know what to do with it. You didn't say what we should do with it. And she's like, oh, you didn't have to do that. And I was like, okay, well, thank you.
Go to hell.
So,
I once had a teacher whose name was Mr. Bates in high school. And after near the end of the year, someone finally called him Master Bates.
Of course.
And he literally stopped cold, turned around, threw his chalk at the kid, and walked out of the school. And
wow.
Then the vice principal came in and gave us a long, you hurt his feelings so badly, passive aggressive speech. And we were just still in so much shock that, like, this person who must have heard this 1 million times in their lives, could be so deeply, shockingly hurt by it. I don't know. I was like almost kind of friends with him by the end of senior year, and I just desperately wanted to ask him, like, hey Paul, like, what the fuck happened that day? Where did you go? And how did you come back from that moment? But no detention.
Well, that's a positive. I did find something about this janitor character.
Oh, good.
His name is Dinosaur.
They say. So apparently there's some big-brained people out there who says that he's played by an actor from The Shining, Joe Turkel, who played Lloyd, like the bartender in The Shining. He did not.
Yeah.
It was not him.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
the director of the episode says that it wasn't him. He said that the show's casting directors found the actor. He says they brought in that guy and we all just went, yes, perfect. I don't even know if he's an actor. I've never seen him again. He just had one of those looks.
He's absolutely a ghost. There's no way around it.
Yeah, he just materialized.
Yeah.
He's an idea made corporal.
Yeah, somebody spoke this man into existence.
Yeah, we need a wet, dry janitor to show up.
And here he is.
And he appeared.
Perfection on screen.
So like then they realize that this all must be a fake thing that Feeney is trying to teach them a lesson. So they're like, all right, he put this fake blood on the wall, the creepy janitor's out there, the door's locked. We're definitely in a lesson of his. He wants us to be better. Mm-hmm. And they rightly call out Kenny, this guy in the classroom, as the first victim because he's a rando and he's a red shirt and he's definitely going to die first.
Really funny when they do. I'll have the laugh line of like, it's obviously not going to be one of us. 'Cause I like a little bit of meta humor every now and again.
Oh yeah,
I also think this was
quite a bit here.
Yeah, and I also think this is early enough in like meta humor about horror movies that it's not entirely super worn down.
Exactly.
No, this is only a year. This is like 2 years after the first Scream, a year after the second one. Mm-hmm. I Know What You Did Last Summer had just come out a couple months prior.
Really, I wouldn't have thought that.
The sequel to that one was about to come out, but yeah, like so the sort of. I mean, I Know What You Did Last Summer is not super meta, but Scream for sure had only been, out for a couple of years, so it wasn't like completely worn down yet. So this was just kind of riding that wave of meta stuff. The one running gag that I don't really like in this that goes on for too long is Shawn saying, "Blood in the showers, it's just like that movie. Blood in the showers."
I knew you were going to
The
say
killer
that.
is one
It's
of
not
us.
good.
It's just like that movie. The killer is one of us. Like I thought that was a little that played out its welcome very very quickly.
I do like that Shawn is Jamie Kennedy in Scream.
Oh, absolutely, but maybe less annoying.
A lot less annoying. Obviously, given that I was I got crushes on boys and I was the correct age to have a crush on Ryder Strong, I absolutely did. Like, look at that guy. Look at him.
Oh yeah, he's
made to crush.
Yes.
Yeah, he was. And
look
I'm
at his haircut.
Crushed too. But yeah, he was like that perfect kind of teen ideal.
Yes.
Like he was, he was the cute guy. He had the hair. He had like cool hair. He wore he wears cool leather jacket from time to time. He was sort of a bad boy.
He seems somewhat accessible because he dates so many girls in that show.
That's true. Yeah, he's a little dumb, which I think
he's not
helps.
actually dangerously bad. He's just
No, he's just troubled. I can fix him.
He's a better version of Budnick from Salute Your Shorts. Like Salute Your Shorts, Budnick he's a bad kid, but he's like, again, like I said, he's not out there setting the forest on fire. Like Shawn is not, beating people up and like hurting anyone, bringing a knife to school or anything.
I gotta say, when I heard that episode, the Zeke the Plumber episode, I kept wanting to just pipe in and be like, Brian, why don't you understand this is good?
What if I say it's not good?
And then everyone is entitled to their own opinion, but you are objectively incorrect.
You kids and your stuff. Why don't you like the stuff I like, which is nothing?
It's amazing that I've gotten you to do a podcast for so long on things that you have no interest in.
That's what
our
friends
friendship
are
must
for.
be so strong.
Yeah.
It must be. My daughter told me last night that I'm not funny, so it can't be that.
Wow.
No, it's impossible. You carry this show, my friend. If it weren't for you, it would be a bad show.
Here's how she explained it. Maybe adults find you funny, but that is about it.
That is brutal.
She says none of the jokes that you make are funny to anyone except for maybe you. Which is not entirely wrong. I'm only ever trying to amuse myself.
It must be hard to hear a critique that you're making of yourself in your own head at all times coming from your offspring.
Well, the problem is that she's so much me that she also is my insecurities. So don't wear the same shirt too many times in a row.
So there is I wonder how she would have felt about this episode. Would she think that Shawn is cute?
She is flummoxed that her friends are already interested in boys. She does not see it yet, and does not feel comfortable having those chats as of yet.
Oh.
There is a boy who clearly likes her, who is a nice kid. I would not mind, but he goes out of his way. You know how some boys go out of their way to make sure you do know they like you. He is doing the exact opposite while always being around. Like, oh, I have another crush who's not you. We should wear the same jacket someday for Twin Day.
Oh.
So he's got the father's approval.
Well, I mean, he's just dorky enough that he seems completely harmless, and also they're first year high schoolers.
Exactly.
They can only get in so much trouble.
Yeah, but this could be the guy that she ends up with forever, and
that's how it works.
That is exactly how it works.
That's right. They'll be calling each other husband and wife when they're 17.
Man, Josh, you've been dating your same high school girlfriend for how long now? You should really tie that knot up.
She just graduated, so.
Oh, gross.
Kidding.
That's worse than my SS joke.
So they hear this beating heart noise, and they don't know what it is, but Shawn knows. It's the beating of their hearts, their fear. And they open the door to find Eric and Jack. I could not remember his name until I looked up on IMDb.
Well, his name is Matthew
Lawrence's. Yeah, Matthew Lawrence's character's name is Jack. Jack Hunter, as Skinner and I said, would have been the star of a series of movies that would have aired on TNT in the early 2000s.
Accurate.
Jack Hunter, like cave spelunker or something like that, yes, looking for old relics.
Absolutely.
He ends up on a prehistoric island at some point.
That's right. And so they're standing there, and this is, of course, when Eric does his Heidi-ho voice from South Park. And they are older. They're not in high school,
yeah, why
right?
Are they
that
there?
Is important. Huh?
Why are they there?
Well, they say they missed the high school for some reason.
That never happened to me.
It doesn't matter because it's a dream.
Yes.
But like they try to play it off like we missed the high school and we wanted to play some basketball here, so we came back. And I'm stressing that they are not in high school anymore because it is very important for a little bit later. Especially the things that Shawn is dreaming. So they come in, they say that there's blood in the showers. It's very creepy. They're worried that
there's some blood on the dance floor.
They're very worried about there being a potential murderer or some sort of ghost or something loose. And the lights go off, flicked by a hand in a spooky cloak. And when they come back on, Kenny is pinned against the wall with a giant novelty pencil through his head, which I thought was pretty extreme for
this is the
Disney
kind of
Channel
really
show.
Me when I was a kid, like this really got to me. I do, before we keep going, want to mention that at some point Kenny put on a flat cap.
Oh yes, he did.
And I don't know when it happened, and I didn't have time to go back and like go frame by frame. But I guess
I think it happens like right before.
You can't wear hats during class.
I think it happens right before Eric and Jack show up. Just suddenly he has it on.
Yeah, and I also couldn't tell if it was a continuity error, but yeah, there he is wearing a flat cap.
So I had to ask my daughter, I hate to bring it up, like, one time, it's like, kids are still not allowed to wear hats in school, right? And she gave me the look like I was the biggest idiot in the world and said, like, why wouldn't kids be allowed to wear hats in school?
Wait, really? You get to
Wow.
wear hats now?
I'm like, they could hide
Drugs.
drugs under their heads or like answers to tests under their hat. She's like, we have iPads all the time. I'm like,
Yeah, school's so different, man.
like, I think wear hats. Imagine how tall a hat. I wonder if there's like a hat height, like a limit, so you can't block the view of the kid behind you.
Yeah, people are wearing stovepipe hats into the
No,
classroom.
remember when like Cat in the Hat hats were really cool for the rebel kids at your school? Were kind of goofy.
That was in the film Clueless. That's how I know of that.
That's specifically what they're referencing.
I wonder if anybody has tried to cheat on a test by wearing one of those giant Homer Simpson cowboy hats with the camera in it. Film the test and then give the video to his friends.
I just like also like, I was like, I bet there's no way she's gonna say they're allowed to wear hats, and she just gave me a withering look. Like, you're saying the dumbest shit right now.
I wonder when that changed. Like, I wonder. I'm sure there are plenty of schools that still forbid hats because there's a lot of real fucked up dress code stuff.
Yeah,
in
there
a lot
has
of
to be.
schools,
I'm sure.
But it's interesting that doesn't seem to be as big of a deal.
I wonder if like they figured like there are bigger battles to fight than greasy hair.
Yeah, we have to worry about keeping our children safe inside
From like
these
rainbow
buildings.
fentanyl.
Yeah.
They just touch one pill, they're addicted with their hands.
I know. They're gonna go into shock if they touch some loose fentanyl. But yeah, don't worry about that. Don't worry about that guy with a gun walking around.
No,
it's totally
it's
fine.
the fentanyl that's the real worry.
Yeah,
I mean, they could put a gun in her hat. It's a very small gun or a very large hat.
yeah. The Cat in the Hat's back, and this time he's packing heat. So where are we here? They run outside after Kenny has died. Oh, he does have the pencil going all the way through his head so that it sticks on the wall, and as he falls, we see a line, and Corey has a pretty fun joke that we'll always know he was this tall.
That was the best joke in the episode to me.
Which is not accurate because it's not at the top of his head. It is through his forehead. But they run outside, and there's some creepy music that plays, welcoming them to John Adams High, where they are going to die.
I liked this song
because it rhymes.
I do want to point out we missed my favorite joke in the episode, which is where Shawn is Jamie Kennedying. He's explaining horror movie rules of how to stay alive.
Yes.
And he says the thing about virgins.
Oh, yes.
And Eric and Jack are both like, I'm dead. And Shawn says, I'll be as sick as you can get without actually dying. It's really funny.
Let's not go into detail like what that exactly means.
I did have questions this time. I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna let I'm gonna let this one go.
This is very reminiscent.
Jump humping.
This is reminiscent of the comment in the Freddy's Nightmares episode about his friend who has done some what the fuck was that that thing that he had done, like some reconnaissance or something on his girlfriend. Oh, he had done that's what it was. He had done tactical R&R, but he had never gone all the way. His friend
tactical
Nicholas.
R&R.
Yeah.
Is he a doctor? Is he checking for like cancer?
But yeah, it sounds like Shawn has done some tactical R&R.
Yeah,
but
that might happen later in the episode, but I just wanted to make sure I got that sex joke out of the way.
Yeah,
they're
right.
excited for Feeney having had sex.
I mean, that also is funny. Can I be honest? It's very funny.
Oh yes, because that happens. I think that happens right after we see Feeney because they pop outside and they think that Feeney must be the killer because they're like, oh, Feeney will show up and he'll reveal his master plan to us. And so Feeney's standing there, and they go over and they congratulate him on a good job of scaring them, and they pat him on the back, and he falls to his knees, and he is dead. He has a pair of scissors in his back, and Shawn is freaked out because he doesn't know what's going to happen now. They talk about the virgin thing, and they're very excited for Feeney to have gotten laid, as if this man in his 60s had not ever had sex at all in his life.
This is all in Sean's dream. He's very excited that Feeney had sex.
Yeah. Again, knowing that it's a dream, it's very weird that he's very excited.
He also has like this
old teacher
omniscient presence in the dream, because there are scenes that occur that Sean is not in.
Yeah, well, we're about to get to one of those.
Yep.
So the janitor's cart rolls out because they think, oh, well, if it's not Feeney, then it must be the janitor. And they find the janitor's dead body inside, along with 15 retainers.
So many.
Gross. So many.
Why are people just throwing those away?
Because they're monsters.
I accidentally threw away at least 2 retainers in my...
Really?
You know,
I
I was
accidentally
thinking
swallowing
about this
them.
when I heard this line, and I feel so bad for my parents, because every time I did it, they had to buy me another one.
I know. We were not very well off when I was a kid, and I did have braces and I did have a retainer, and I did not wear them as much as I should have, which is why my teeth have started to slowly drift back to their original positioning. But I would never think of getting rid of that thing or throwing it away. I was like so freaked out that my mom would then have to spend like another couple $100 to get a replacement.
I absolutely couldn't lose it because... we're going way in the weeds here. Please cut this out.
Never.
The teeth on the opposite sides of my front teeth are fake because those just never came in. So I just had enormous gaps in my mouth unless I wore like a flipper retainer.
Oh, wow. Do you want me to cut this so people don't know your deep, dark secret?
No, you don't have to cut it. I just think it's kind of boring.
So you can put like novelty ones on there.
I should have just gotten vampire teeth permanently implanted because I love spooky season so much. Yeah.
If you got glow in the dark ones, they probably would have given you cancer.
But yeah, you would never
back
know
in the 90s
now.
for sure.
Like, they're really good fakes, but
you should have done like the guy in Last Action Hero with his weird glass eye, gotten different styles of that you could just pop in and out whenever you felt like it. Some that had like an American flag on them, and then some that had like a little smiley face.
It's like having different colored watch straps for your pedometer.
That's right.
What's great about getting fake teeth is when you first get them, they're like, you should whiten your teeth around them because they're going to be way too white. And it sounds insulting, but then years later, you're like, yeah, no, now all of my teeth are yellow.
Some activated charcoal on those things.
Who has the time, Skinner?
So they all agree that one of them needs to stay outside in the hallway. They do run around a bunch of times through this little tiny set.
They do a little Scooby-Doo run. It's cute.
Yeah, show the limitations of this set by filming it a bunch of different ways, but it's all the same hallway. And they find the doors locked, so of course they can't escape, and they decide one of them has to stay out there and try to find the killer because there must be someone else in the area that is the killer, because it can't be one of them. At least they don't think so yet. So Eric decides to stay out in the hallway and find the killer, and he turns around and immediately finds Jennifer Love Hewitt, who is playing Jennifer Love Pfefferman, and he says, "You're the killer. I know you are. Nothing you can say will make me think otherwise." And she says, "Oh, I'm not the killer." And he says, "I believe you." And they immediately start making out.
Yeah, I want to untangle this for Skinner.
And she says, "I'm a new student here," which means that she might be 17. And he is definitely over 18. And it's a little weird. I mean, they're not that big of an age difference, and I think in real life they were dating at the time.
Because otherwise it just seems like he's sexually assaulting her.
Yes,
it does. Or he's feasting upon her. But
yeah, the way he kisses her is not. If that's what he kissed her like in real life, and I can't presume to know this, I don't. It makes sense it didn't last because he's very aggressive.
Yeah, they are going at it. Like they let some reality seep into this episode.
And it's really,
so
it's strange in the context of she is a new student, and then you add like, well, it's okay because they're together in real life and the audience is in on this, right? But it's still weird.
Especially as time goes on, and also she's like, there's 99% of people would no longer remember that they were a couple at the time because who could? But also, why did he dream that his best friend's brother like
this
feel bad for him?
This is my question.
Like he's like, okay, I'm gonna have a major movie star guest in my dream, which teenager boys do, but I'm gonna have her kind of all her advances be done by other characters.
Yeah, I'm gonna have her make out with my my best friend's brother or my brother's best friend. Either way works. And then I'm also gonna have her kiss my best friend while his ex looks on.
Huh.
And also, since she's a bigger star than all of them, she should be taller than all of them, but she isn't. She should be physically larger due to her popularity.
Yes. You know what? I would love that if celebrities had to be like in scale based on their stature in the industry. And if that were the case, Tom Cruise would be 10 feet tall.
I was gonna immediately go for the Tom Cruise reference.
She's just
powered by Xenu.
So small, but yet so much more famous than all of them.
The last thing I saw Jennifer Love Hewitt in was Munchie, so
that's what I'm saying.
Super
popular.
Yeah.
I think my mother-in-law still has some Ghost Whisperers on her TiVo.
That sounds right.
That I still pay for her.
Ghost Whisperer.
Yeah, she was in a lot of
Jamie Kennedy was on that show.
The Client List, was that her?
That was her.
The List of Clients.
Spicy.
Yeah, we were talking about that beforehand and like how both of those shows seem to be advertised with her cleavage.
Yeah, well, even this episode, like I was a little surprised at how they dress her in this, but then that was her whole thing, right?
Yeah, I mean, she looks pretty similar to how she looked in I Know What You Did Last Summer, like in terms of the outfits and the hair and everything. So I think that it's just I think they're just really playing on that because they also do make a reference to reference to Scream, and they make a reference to
Party of Five,
the movie. Yeah, they're like, there's a movie with a Party of Five actress, and they're talking about Neve Campbell, and they're like, yeah, that's the one.
Oh yeah, I will point out that Jack calls Neve Campbell a hottie hot. This is literally still a phrase that I use sometimes. I have said
because
hottie
of this
hot
episode?
hot and cutie cute about someone as recently as in the last week.
Thank you, Matthew Lawrence.
This is a huge tangent, but we are getting into the we're getting out of the spooky season soon enough. We're going to be getting into the holiday season. We're going to be getting into like Christmas time, things like that. Matthew Lawrence and his other Lawrence brothers have moved into making Christmas movies.
Really?
Like they make a lot, and I have to recommend one because I don't think we will ever cover this on the podcast at all, but it came out last year called Mistletoe Mix-Up. Gotta watch it. It's really bad. It's on Prime. It's so fun. Directed by their youngest brother, Andrew.
I was going to
Lawrence.
ask if Andrew was involved in any of this because it was always
he's
Joey
in the movie,
and Matthew who had more success.
All three of them are in the movie as brothers.
Okay.
Their mother is in the movie playing their grandmother.
Oh,
hilarious.
Which is insulting. And one of them, I don't remember who, sings a closing credits theme song.
It's probably Joey. He had a music career.
I don't think it is Joey.
Weird.
I think
then
it might
only
be
two
Andrew.
other ones.
I think it might be Andrew or Matthew. I can't remember. But
did Matthew sing on Superhuman Samurai Cyber Squad?
I don't think so. But anyway, that's a huge tangent. But if you want some good holiday trash, definitely watch Mistletoe Mix-Up with the Lawrence brothers because it's a good time. But so people are dying. We're running around. We get a phone call about do you like scary movies and bullshit like that. They make their Scream references. They go into the library, this huge library with 2 shelves. How it serves a high school, I'll never know. But they they decide, Shawn, even though he's told everyone not to split up this entire time, he decides, all right, we need to split up because we have to find the killer. It's got to be one of us. And this is when he dreams that Corey goes and talks to Feffy, as they're calling her, and he's lamenting all of this whole thing, and she's like, "It'll be okay," and then gives him a kiss
on the cheek. I would like to point out that is on the cheek.
As Topanga walks by,
of course,
and then out of nowhere, very much like Freddy's Nightmares, where Freddy's pushing books out to cackle, the killer, this person in a cloak with a skull mask on, pushes a series of books down on top of her. These books must be made with lead pages or something, because they immediately crush her and kill her. And she says that she has knowledge of who the killer is, but as Eric goes over to rescue her, he is also crushed under books. And then we get this moment where Jack says, "My friend is dead, and now I cannot afford rent." And he wants to jump out of a window. Housing prices were so bad, even then, that knowing that you could not afford rent would lead you to suicide.
Yes. It's kind of, I mean, like, I had forgotten the circumstances of how Jack and Angela, spoiler alert, got pushed out a window.
Yeah.
Or rather pushed off the ledge, because they're both already out there.
Yeah. They're ready to go. Yeah. But like, you know, as true today as it was then, housing prices too expensive. But yeah, so she goes out to try to pull him back from the ledge, and she's like, "Oh, you still have your brother, and he can still help you make rent." And he's like, "Oh yeah, okay, it'll be fine." And then the killer shows up and pushes them out off the ledge, and then we are confronting this killer, Shawn, Topanga, and Corey, and the killer walks forward and puts Topanga and Corey's hands together, and then Shawn removes the killer's mask, and it's Shawn. And Skinner and I were watching this together, and there was a deep silence as he pulled the mask off. And Skinner, what did you say?
Really makes you think.
And it made me laugh quite a bit, because what is the point of this dream when it's revealed that it's a dream? Like, what was he doing?
I don't care about any of my friends enough to dream about their breakups.
What is he doing? Okay, he's
killing off any sort of like distraction.
He doesn't want any competition for their love.
This is the thing. Like, he does like an almost, okay, you know, at the end of the movie Psycho, stick with me on this, when there's a psychologist character who comes in and explains the entire movie.
Yeah, in case someone didn't get it.
Yeah. I remember watching it and thinking, this would not happen in a movie now, and if it did, we would lampoon it, but it apparently had to happen in, like, I think it's 1960.
And it works. I think Psycho is the movie that gets away with it. Like, you can do that, but I don't think any other movie can do that.
Oh, no,
now.
Absolutely not. So this episode does that, is what I'm saying. Like,
yes.
Shawn comes out, talks to Feeney after he wakes up from his dream in detention, and, like, he monologues about how Corey and Topanga are like the only constant in his life. So he would like to murder everyone in order to reunite them, I guess.
Yeah. Especially if there's no one else on Earth, you have to be together.
Yeah, exactly.
It's addition by subtraction.
Yeah, he gives him this big monologue, and he's like, you know, and then I killed everybody. And Feeney should be like, okay, well, hitting this silent alarm under my desk right now.
In my notes, I have the phrase, this is actually a meditation on codependence at this point.
I don't remember.
But codependence is good.
I mean,
that's right, apparently.
In this case, yes. But then, like, Feeney, like, they have way too emotional and revealing of a conversation with Shawn.
Yes.
In front of everybody.
He literally says to Shawn, "You're a troubled young man."
Which is funny. on its
Why don't
alone enough.
why don't they put up like a helpline at the end of this episode? If you find yourself in similar situations where you're dreaming about murdering all your friends, maybe call this hotline.
The problem, I put this in real huge quotes, is that teenagers weren't killing each other enough at schools back in the 1990s.
Good point. Yeah, this is a couple of years before things got real bad.
Oh,
I mean, wow. But I like that he does his monologue and they have the conversation, and then Vinny like basically takes him at full face value. He's like, "You've suffered enough. You can go home." And I'm like, did I have to fall asleep in detention and then say like I had a bad dream? And they're like, "You've suffered enough."
Why does everybody else get to go?
My friends aren't making out anymore. Oh, okay, well that's tough on you.
I also don't think Kenny should have been in a detention at all.
No.
Kenny is innocent. He did nothing wrong. Same with Angela. But yeah.
Maybe you try to put the hat on at some point.
Yeah, not allowed. That's why you got detention. Yeah, hashtag free Kenny.
I assume maybe he was using a giant novelty pencil, and that's against the rules too.
Oh, absolutely.
So then, Feeney lets them all go for whatever reason, because I guess he's just tired too. He's like, "Fuck this, I'm ready to go."
He's an old man.
Yeah, he just needed someone to come up to him and go, "I think I learned my lesson. All right, time to go." And he leaves the classroom, turns the lights out, closes the door, and then from behind the TV, which was in the corner of the room, the killer creeps out. So it was real or not. It's one of those endings to these Halloween style shows like we had with the Home Improvement episode last time, where it sort of invalidates everything that came before, or it tries to put a little stinger on there, but then it sort of is like, well, that's not obviously not real. Why did they do that?
Maybe they wanted to make sure you didn't have too much feelings.
Yeah, you caught all the feels and then they scared you right at the end. A little jump scare. But yeah, that's Boy Meets World. We do end with a dream sequence of Feeney's where, again, as we mentioned, he is teaching them multiple subjects at one time, and they are nailing everything, and things are going great. But then he wakes up to find the kids throwing paper airplanes around and yelling and basically having fun because they're about to graduate.
Yeah.
Just dumb kids. They don't know shit. They're about to graduate.
It's a weird button on the episode.
It is. It's also weird to me, this, like, as I'm thinking about the show, this was the 5th season. They were in high school, which means the show started when they were in 8th grade,
Sure
I'm
did.
guessing. But they never left the school because I think it's the same school the entire time. And Feeney was there. He went from being like their teacher to their principal.
He becomes like some kind of professor at the university they go to.
Yeah, because Shawn keeps bugging him. Because isn't he on he's at Jackson Hole, Wyoming or something?
Yeah.
And he keeps asking him to come back, or he goes to visit him. And then that makes this old man come out of retirement and come back to Philadelphia to deal with this troubled kid.
This is further codependence, though. This is Feeney needing them almost more than they need him.
It's more like, instead of like Boy Meets World, it's more like man needs kids.
He gets the last line of the
bad.
series.
Yeah.
In the final episode, he says class dismissed and then it's over. And he's saying it to an empty classroom. Also in that episode,
it was all a dream.
Corey literally says out loud, "I get it now. Boy Meets World." And it's the funniest thing that's ever happened on TV.
So, speaking of that last episode, this episode, and then there was Shawn, and that episode, Brave New World Part 2. Wow. At a 9.5, this episode is tied with the series finale. Many people consider this one the best episode of the series.
I think
it's one of the few episodes with its own Wikipedia page.
I can give you a curated shortlist of the other best episodes, but I actually do think this is the best episode of the series.
It's the one that I remember the most. It's just one that is burned into my brain because of the horror connection. And that's why I think I liked it so much.
It hasn't aged that perfectly. But I'm still very pro this episode. Sometimes I do an episode of a podcast and somebody else's opinion pushes me in another direction, and I'm just willfully ignoring that impulse right now. Like, I'm like, Skinner, you raise good points, but also, do you remember the part where they decided to call the woman Feffy?
I mean, you make a strong argument there, but also you're wrong.
Have you seen the episode where Shawn joins a cult?
Weirdly, no.
I think I'm really going to turn you around on this show in time.
Really,
oh yes, I do remember that one.
Yeah, I'm gonna get into Boys Meet World in 2023. That's finally my moment.
Because isn't that cult episode also the one where Mr. Turner gets into the motorcycle accident and then is removed from the show forever?
It's either that or Shawn's dad has a heart attack at the end of the episode.
Both very funny.
Oh man, because
don't talk to me about Chet Hunter unless you've watched the episode.
Well, I think I was telling him that on the last episode of the podcast we covered one of the Home Improvement Halloween episodes, and Chet Hunter, the actor who plays Shawn's dad, that character, he is also in Home Improvement, I think, for a couple episodes. I think I'm almost positive he had that look. So
that sounds right. He's
totally
very
make
like
sense.
John Goodman, but TV. John Goodman was on TV.
Also on
Please
TV.
Let's not
He's
think
a
too
movie
hard
star.
about what I just said.
Yeah, he is a bit of a movie star.
He's kind of a John OK man.
There you go.
I think I should I feel like Skinner, you could leave now. You've done your job.
That's all lead to that. I'm done forever.
Well, yeah, let's wrap this up before Skinner bounces. Thank you so much, Christy, for joining us for this one. We knew we couldn't cover this episode or do it justice without you.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for being with us. Is there anything you would like to plug or promote?
That is a great question. Phil Gonzalez, friend of this pod, friend of many pods, and I co-host a show called Pizza Toast. It is about YA and middle grade literature targeted at girls and the movie and TV adaptations thereof. We are on hiatus right now. So if you want to go back and listen to us talk about the Babysitters Club or the Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants or George Nicholson, you can do that, and it can be in preparation for our inevitable return, whenever that will be.
Excellent. Yeah, everyone should definitely check out your show. It's great. I do want to correct myself. Chet Hunter is not in Home Improvement at any
You
point.
motherfucker.
Damn it.
He just seemed like a guy who would be.
Oh, also, I'm on Twitter at Christy Admiraal. It's a weird combination of too many photos of myself, and occasionally I promote work, but mostly it's bullshit.
That's what
it's a lot of
Twitter is.
bullshit.
And Batista with small glasses.
Skinner, do you have anything you'd like to promote on this episode of your hit podcast,
My hit
Center of Weirdness?
Wow, really? When did it become a hit? When did anyone ever listen to it?
I listened
Christy,
to it
have we
today.
covered? Thank you. Christy, have we covered every major holiday now on one podcast or another?
No, we've just covered together Valentine's Day at least 3 times, maybe more.
Did we do Easter though?
We haven't done Easter together. You and there was a very early Predicticast special about the
Family Circus.
Yeah, the Family Circus thing.
Oh, that's right.
It
That
haunts me
happened.
like that.
Yeah, that's one of the best things we've ever done. I
It
think,
really
too.
no. I'm being sincere when I say that it's a really fantastic thing you've done.
Well, that's the first time I've ever gotten feedback on that.
Yeah. That between that and I think that was kind of the impetus of Butterfly Kisses.
It was,
like
I
that kind of
believe,
that
yeah.
weirdness. And then someone called we did see on Twitter, people were asking for good, fun, serialized podcasts and sci-fi serialized podcasts. And our friend Bo North said, "Oh, listen to Butterfly Kisses."
I mean, it's not science
I called
fiction.
it the weird Twitter of podcasts at one point because that was how it registered to me at the time.
Yeah, now we're just navel gazing, so we need to end this episode. But thank you very much, Christy. I appreciate it.
You're so welcome.
We hope that you're having a fun spooky season so far. We'll be back again soon with another extra spooky episode.
Wow, I hate it so much.
But until next time, I've been Jerky Josh because my bones are all
Gross.
jerky.
No, I'm not going to say anything now. Christy, you close out.
It was Spooky Skinner.
Oh, I've been Creepy Christy and been Skinner. You're just Skinner.
I get to be other shows. You know that?
I called you a few times here.
It's like is my first name hidden from the audience?
I'm bleeping out every time you say your first name.
I'm going to change my Twitter handle to the Skinner.
You've been listening to Center of Weirdness. If you like this show, rate and review us wherever you find it, but especially on Apple Podcasts. You can listen to every episode at centerofweird.com, where you can also find all of the old Predictocast episodes. And if you want to get in touch with us to tell us about a show we should cover, hit us up on Twitter at Weird Center. As always, thanks for listening.